Alright, good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning. It is Easter morning here in the U.S. It is 5:30 Sunday morning on Easter, so it was fitting that today's toy came in an egg instead of just a regular canister, which is quite funny to me because, you know, they're Easter eggs. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, so here we are, remembering to hit record on all of the buttons, and today we're going to draw this policeman. He's taller than usual, so you can see the stage in the reference photo. You can see the stage underneath there, but that won't make any difference to our picture or our composition, so we'll just turn the page and get started. Oh, I'm feeling it today, guys. Let me tell you, I am feeling it today. Yesterday, this week, my water heater went out. We have, we're fortunate, we have 2 water heaters. Can you imagine my ancestors looking out onto my household and saying, our grandson has chocolate at his disposal, has a cabinet full of spices, and 2 water heaters. He is quite wealthy. And, you know, by a lot of standards, I guess I am. Shouldn't complain. But one of the water heaters went out. And it wouldn't be so bad, but the other water heater, we just replaced the other water heater a few months ago. And that gets expensive. But the other one was in the attic. And so I felt it best to pay some nice young men in their clean white clothes to come change the water heater that time. I didn't want to have to try to carry that thing up the attic and risk breaking it and being responsible for it if I did. But this time, it's just in a closet. So my boy and I carried it upstairs, and you know, at the time I was all, yeah, this is how you do this is how you do this, and I'm showing him all this cool stuff, and he'd get stuck and I'd come along and remind him that I'm the dad and brute force stuff and show him how to make it work, knowing full well that today I was going to wake up in pain. He's kind of leaning a little bit. Our character is kind of leaning a little bit because my stage has an incline. He's standing on an incline across there, so you can't really. Are the cameras changing? Yes, good. Okay, good. But he's standing on an incline, so from my drawing, from the perspective of my drawing, it looks like I'm drawing a zombie. The way he's kind of hunched over, but it's just because he's standing on that incline, and I won't have any way to emphasize that incline except in the shadow, because the shadow will come down. The shadow will come down and then come back up. Will be the only way I can about the only way I can indicate that incline. All right, there's the composition. Let's start filling in some shapes. Trying to be careful not to draw what I can't see. Because I know what that cap looks like. Hiccups. I'm not a fish. there's a thing going around that's saying hiccups are kickback to a nervous response in fish. When the fish have swallowed something they're not supposed to swallow, it stimulates their frenetic nerve and causes them to hiccup, causes fish to expel whatever it is that they ate that they weren't supposed to eat. And us getting hiccups as humans is a throwback to that much earlier time, if you're inclined to believe such things. Can't talk, Harding. Anyway, so the kids and I, when one of us has the hiccups, you're not a fish. And most of the times, believe it or not, that's all it takes to cure the hiccups. You remind yourself you're not a fish. I'm starting to get kind of hip to this music. This music is from SoundForge, or from Soundstripe rather. They're not a sponsor. I have to actually pay to use the music, but I figured it was better than having YouTube turn all my videos off, turn all my comments off and everything, because I have copyrighted music. And sometimes they don't even tell you they've done it. They just shadow ban you. So rather than do that, I paid a small fee. Don't tell my wife. I paid a small fee so that I could have royalty-free music. And sometimes if they play stuff that I like, and I've listened to it often enough now that I'm kind of catching up on the groove there, if you will. What's going on that pocket? I think he's got his Class A's on, because I think he's got a badge here, and I think he has ribbons here. Definitely has epaulets. And something on his shoulder, probably his unit patch on his shoulder. This side's in the dark, so I can't really see the details over here as well. I can't really see the details there over as well, because the whole toy is a dark color. Not only is he a black man, but he's wearing a dark bluish gray uniform. So all of the features are obscured in this light, and that's a welcome challenge at times. It is something I'm absolutely happy to have had for easy Sunday morning. It's not something I would have want to have pulled out of the box on a Monday. Yeah, Mom, it does make for great background music. Mom's talking about the music. It does make for great background music, because it's not It's not so distracting that I want to that I forget what I'm doing and start singing along. But it's interesting enough that our little earballs are involved in the show. Alright. Let me get those shoes drawn in better. I don't remember if it was Charles Schultz or if it was good Lord, who did Calvin Hobbes? Whoever it was that did Calvin Hobbes, I'm drawing a blank right now. But they were whoever it was talking about the other one. When they were praising them, they said that is a special skill to make a shoe look like a shoe, to make a cartoon shoe look like a cartoon shoe, and not a biscuit. And they're absolutely right. If you're drawing a shoe, it is a really short trip from shoe to biscuit. It's not Berkeley Breathed. Berkeley Breathed was Bloom County. It'll come to me. Like 2 o'clock this afternoon, I'll remember who it was. Of course, I could just walk in the other room and look at the books. I have all of the Calvin Hobbes books, of course. Let's start shading this in. Okay. This whole side is dark. There are some different planes that are darker. this is another one of those situations where I could really just black this whole side out. But if I do, you lose so much of the detail that I'm not sure I want to. I'm not sure that's what I want to do. Sure if I want to lose all that details, because it's, you know, sometimes it's frustrating. You draw all this detail in and then you go to shade it and you realize, you know, you really can't see that detail once it's shaded. I'm out of lead. This is a new phenomenon, using my pencil often enough to actually run out of lead frequently. But we's prepared for that. We got this backup. Indeed, indeed. Alright. Back to the regularly scheduled programming. Okay. So the Spanish word of the day yesterday was el panal. El panal, and it's the honeycomb. I would have thought there would be more Easter words. If you're following along, I'm learning Spanish, and I like to keep up with the Spanish word of the day. I like to share the Spanish word of the day, and today's Spanish word of the day is el panal, which is honeycomb. Las ovejas, yeah, las abejas guardan el miel in el panal. The bees guard their honey in the honeycomb. Yeah, Mom's talking about, in the chat room, she's talking about the shading. I had mentioned earlier that if I go as dark as the toy actually is, you can't see the details. And if I obscure the details, you can't really make out what it is, but it would be more accurate would be more accurate to the model if I did make it a lot darker, and I am going to darken it up from what it is. But I am going to darken it up from what it is, but I'm not going to go nearly as dark as the toy. But I'm going to start by cleaning up those lines so I don't darken up the wrong thing. Anyway, Spanish word of the day, el penal. Sometimes I got to remember to look up at the chat. It's slow today. My mom's quiet, my dad's quiet. I figured my mom would. I really shocked my mom's here. She's cooking Easter dinner today. Again with the ancestors. And they have such tremendous feasts every Sunday. Alright, I think I have all the details mapped out. When I squint, his uniform is just barely darker than his skin. So I'm darkening his skin. Then I'm going to come back and darken in his uniform. I went through all that trouble to shade it. If I go the same direction, I'll obscure that. So I'm going to change directions with my toning so that the shading gets incorporated into the toning. I know it looks like I'm scribbling. I'm only going in one direction. I'm actually picking the pencil up and going in kind of a loop, but you can't tell it because it's a subtle loop. But if you go back and forth, you run the risk of making dark lines, dark marks at the top and dark marks at the bottom where your pencil hits the paper. And if you can start from one place all the time, you'll put those dark marks in a line, and they're not as noticeable. I mean, they can be, but they're not usually as noticeable. Alright, those shoes, this is black, by the way. And those shoes are black. Shiny things, when they reflect light, are either light or dark. They're not gray tone like everything else. They have no texture to mute the light. So they have a tendency to just stay light where they are not shaded. Alright, so there's him. I think we're going to call him done. Coffee, sketching, and crocheting. My mom says coffee, sketching, and crocheting is her favorite time of the day. That explains why she's here and not cooking. She's here because she loves me. That shadow is not as dark as his pants. Except right here off the boot. Right here where it's touching. There's a figure drawing school that doesn't exist anymore. I don't think it exists anymore. It may still exist, but it's not on the web like it used to be. Called, what's it called? I was going to tell you about it, and now I can't remember. I don't have the book handy. Anyway, I'll remember it and I'll put it in the description. Oh my goodness, the pollen's got me. Wasn't that the cutest little sneeze you've ever heard in your life? Anyway, they have a technique they call California Cool when they begin to give form to a figure. That's the wrong thing. When they begin to give form to a figure, they like to use what they call California Cool. And the technique is wherever you have a curve on one side, you have an angle on the other, and then you have a series of curves that counter each other. So like in this shadow, when I went to shadow this, it was curve, 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 curve. The curves are all opposite each other. And that makes it look like a human form. Because the human form is cool like that. She said she loves me. I knew she did. Never a doubt in my mind. Alright. We finished that one just right on time. And I recorded it today. How special. What is today? Today is the 20th. Easter Sunday. Ah! Oh no! Oh no! Disaster. Will I ever get it to stand back up like it was? Where it was? Oh no! Disaster. Yeah, it's fast this morning. I thought it was going to take a lot longer. Mom says it's fast this morning. I thought it was going to take a lot longer because why is that shadow so thick? I'm going to thin that shadow down just a little bit. There we go. There we go. That's a little better. Let's try that again. All right. Stop the cameras. Has that been blurring this whole time? I haven't been paying attention. Has that been trying to blur this whole time? Goodness. I'm sorry. If that's been trying to blur this whole time, I'm sorry. So, I mean, again, see, you can't really see the details because of the shading, even with a camera. But this is, you know, this is my screensaver, my screen protector filtering for that camera. But let's try this other camera. And then you can see it compared to where it was when before I dropped him. Which way makes him stand up straight? Like that? There we go. Now you can see him side by side. Anyway, guys, that's the show today. That's the breakfast show today. The coffee and sketching show today. Thank you for joining me. Enjoy this. I look forward to it. I'm starting to look forward to it every day. I don't really like getting out of the bed, but that's just because my wife is there and she's anyway. That's the hardest part of the day, is rolling over and crawling away from her. But we've escaped that. Now we're trying to do this, and we're done with this, and I may go back to that. Don't tell my mother though, because she's going to be in the kitchen cooking for a while. Alright guys, thank you so much. I'm going to put this on this camera, and somebody let me know when I'm frozen. And I think you guys have a great day. Peace out.